Welcome to Thriving Tribesmen. My name is Kuri, your host, and I'm excited to be making this episode. Today I'm reacting to a post on Reddit where this guy talks about date nights and why a couple of years ago when he brought up his dead bedroom, she said to him, I need a bit more date nights, and she needed to be flirted with before she can actually feel a sense of sex. And he stepped it up. He stepped up his game. He started going to more concerts, doing more dinner, movies. And he says, I know I shouldn't expect sex after date nights, but it never ever happened. And so he brought it up again. And then she turned around, which she, like most women do, shamed him and said, it's all about sex with you. And she just never really changed. And he now feels like nothing ever he can do will ever change anything. And I think most of you guys end up in this situation where you've been completely lied to. Like every time I say date nights is a stupid idea, when in terms of changing a sexless relationship, you should see the venom and hate that I get online when I say it. And I say it's changing the environment does not change sexual desire. In fact, a lot of it, when we think about, being in a sexless relationship, it is all about sexual discomfort. But also at the same time, you have to think about that sexual discomfort or at least the discomfort of having sex within the relationship as reason. And also, sometimes it's not completely the case. Sometimes it's just the ownership of sex. So how much of sex is it valuable to your partner? And two, is if they don't see it as valuable within the relationship, they're most likely not to take ownership for it, and therefore there will be a level of discomfort in order to engage with it, because they don't see any value inside of it. So when it comes to changing a sexless relationship, it becomes more about how do I create an environment where it becomes valuable, not just to you, because it's already valuable to you, but how do I make it valuable for the other person? And how do I create an environment where it becomes easier for that person to feel comfortable to invest within the relationship from a sexual standpoint? And how do I make that investment have good returns so they can feel comfortable to wanting to come back again? So those are the questions that you have to be asking around it. And really, most people, including therapists and coaches, they feel like when you put date night or putting date nights and doing all these other things like concerts, and they think it's about changing the environment of where you can offer up more sex, which is a very terrible place, because obviously if they don't see any value within the relationship and they don't see any payback from it by engaging in it, it doesn't matter what environment that you put them in, then most likely not going to want to have sex anyways. So doing the date nights becomes very redundant way of trying to change it. Whereas if you take the approach of, okay, there is sexual discomfort, there's some contribution from me, and also there is some contributing factors that could have been happening from her perspective, whether she's just got older, whether there's the kids are playing up, whether she's hit menopause, whether she's, and again, quite recently I was there's a podcast episode I'm looking to make where they were talking about contraception and how that alters the way libido works, and how that alters her mental well-being, and then how that's got an overall detrimental effect on her libido, which is absolutely insane, because the birth control is to remove the risk of having children and therefore be more sexually liberal. But what it does is that while she takes that in order to have sexual freedom, it's actually closing off the feelings that she would feel in order to experience that sexual freedom. So it's quite a dichotomous thing. So again, just coming back to the point that when it comes to sexual comfort, or at least building sexual comfort, it now comes down to you asking those real questions. How do I increase the value of sex for both of us within that relationship? And while I increase that value within that relationship for both of you, how do I increase her investment towards sex, and when she does increase that investment, how do I make it that when the return for that investment is so high that she then takes ownership of sex? So there's this real progression that she has to take in order for you guys to have long-lasting sex, especially when it comes to the frequency, that the frequency becomes not a problem. It becomes just one of the things that you gain based off of the fact that her investment is pretty high. She's getting real good returns for that investment in terms of from a sexual standpoint. And when she does get that return for investment, she now wants more frequency because of the return of investment. Now, again, a lot of it, that return of investment then gives her that ownership of it, because all of a sudden she's getting something from it. So, and I call it the well, that, you imagine being in a desert, and then all of a sudden you find, or you're living in a desert, and that's the only place that you live in. You're most likely going to go searching for a place where you got a consistent, permanent water source. And once you find it, you're most likely to settle at that place. So that's exactly what you're sort of trying to create within your sexless relationship. So approaching from that perspective is way more impactful for the rest of your life than when you look at sex, not having sex, and then trying to figure out transactional ways of getting sex, which is what most therapists prescribe when they tell you go for a date night, that by going on a date night, you should change the environment, therefore it should open up sex, but really doesn't address the real core of the problem. So again, when it comes to it, I believe that date nights should be supplementary to a relationship that's already functioning well. If your relationship is not functioning well and you think you need a date night to realign it, then you're actually fucking doing the wrong thing. Your relationship has to be functioning in order for it for date nights to be actually something that contributes to your relationship. Because if it's functioning and you add date night, oh my God, it actually becomes something that is really, really good. When you're already struggling, what tends to happen is that it's superficial. It's like papering over the cracks, pretty much. So that you go and enjoy the concert or date night or whatever it is, you go and enjoy that, and you might actually have sex and so on. But there's those anchors, we call them anchors, where you come home, you regress back to those habits and behaviors that make you feel upset or whatever, regret or whatever it is, those negative emotions, you will regress back to those negative feelings based off of the environment that you've created within your house, especially when it comes to habits and behaviors. Those are the ones that are causing you to be in a place where you're having a negative situation around sex. So therefore, it becomes more important to fix that before you start considering date nights and so on. So hopefully that's something that's massively impactful for changing your relationship. In fact, massively impactful the way you look at about changing your sexless relationship. When you look at it from that perspective, you will see that you've got a high chance of actually changing your relationship and really making it amazing. So thank you very much, guys, for listening, and hopefully this will give you an opportunity to really start looking at it from a different perspective. If you want to learn a little bit more about this, I would like you to go to Thriving_Tribesmen on Instagram and just type in Unleashed. You can go to also do www.Thriving Tribesmen and .com, and you'll be able to go and get a free training, which you'll be able to see the ultimate attracted into seduction playbook. So you'll be able to take you through a free training that's going to take you on the 3 steps on how to change a sexless relationship. So thank you very much. I'll be seeing you guys soon. Take care.